My name is Mehdi. I'm support engineer with Grandstream Networks here in Boston. And for today's webinar, we will go through the main features of Zero Config, supported by the UCM appliance, the GS or Grandstream IP PBX. But before we get started and going through the content of today's presentation, I would like to mention, if you have any questions, submit them in the Q&A section, and I will do my best to get back to you with all the answers. So this is the agenda of today's webinar. I'm going to begin with an overview of the Grandstream IP phones portfolio. Then I will explore the auto provisioning methods supported by Grandstream IP phones and devices. We will also mention the Zero Config requirements, the template hierarchy, and at the end, we're going to do and perform a live demo and go ahead with questions and answers. The Grandstream IP phones portfolio offers a wide range of telephony endpoints that suits the needs of small business or organizations. Starting from the top, we have the GXV 3300 and the GXV 3200. These are the IP phone Android video phones, which offer many advanced features as video conferencing, integrated Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, as well as app integration using Google Store. We have also the GXP 2100 series, considered as a high-end desk phones. Those include color LCD display and the virtual VPK and dynamic and customizable soft keys for call features, as for example, call park, transfer, call recording, and conferencing. We have only two models that supports the expansion module, which are the GXP 2140 and the GXP 2170. Then we have the mid-range of IP phones, the GXP 1700 series, and the basic IP phones, the GXP 16 series, which are perfect solution for those who do not require an advanced call features. In this slide, we're going to present the UCM 6200 IPv6 appliance series. They come with three models. So we have the UCM 6202, the UCM 6204, and 6208. The last number indicates how many FXO ports included within the appliance. For example, if you have a customer with 5 to 6 or 7 analog POTS lines, so you're going to go ahead with the UCM 6202, which has up to 8 analog or FXO ports. So these three models support up to 800 SIP endpoints. And for example, if you have the model 6204, it will support 75 concurrent calls. Every model is included with a dual core 1 gigahertz processor and 1 gigabyte RAM. All three series or three models, they don't need any licensing fees. Here we have the UCM 6510. So the only difference is other than the hardware modification. So we have the model include the digital hardware interface that could be configured as E1, T1, or G1 interface. It depends where you are. If you are in the US, you're going to go ahead with T1, Europe, E1, Japan, G1. And this model includes only 2 FXO ports and 2 FXS ports. And it supports up to 2,000 SIP endpoints. And it includes dual gigabit network ports. And this model doesn't need any licensing fees. So we're going to begin with the auto provisioning methods. The first one is the DHCP option 66. So the first method of provisioning Grandstream devices is to use the DHCP option 66. When a Grandstream device boots up, it will get the provisioning server URL or IP address during the DHCP message exchange using option 66. Then the Grandstream device will use this provided IP address or URL to request its configuration file using TFTP, HTTP, or HTTPS protocol. So in the example I'm showing here in the slide, the GXP phone requests its configuration file from the provisioning server using HTTP GET, and the server checks if it has the config file, and based on the MAC address that the phone includes in its request. If the file is available, the server will reply with 200 OK. If not, it will reply with 404 not found. So if the file is available, the provisioning server will reply with 200 OK and sends back the config file in an XML format. To use this method, you need to make sure your router or the DHCP server support the configuration of DHCP options because not all the routers have this ability. Generally speaking, DHCP options are used by DHCP servers to pass configuration parameters to network endpoint dynamically. Besides the option 66, the DHCP server can send many other network parameters or options like the client IP address, the subnet, the gateway, the DNS, and NTP server and the time zone. So if you have like in a local network 100 of phones in the same network, passing the config file through the option 66 would be very helpful, and considering the overhead of the manual configuration. This is the config server path. So this is the second method, which is 100% manual. So you need to access through the web user interface manually or the LCD screen to set up the config server path. So the config server path can be configured with an IP address or an FQDN that the device will use to request the config file using a TFTP, HTTP, or HTTPS protocol, depending on which method you have selected before. After you set up the config server path, the provisioning process will be triggered by either rebooting the device or just click on the provisioning feature icon available on certain Grandstream devices. So at this point, you might be asking how to create the config file, and the simplest way is just go to Grandstream website and navigate, it's grandstream.com, and navigate to supports, tools, and look for the config template. When you click on it, you will download the config templates of all Grandstream devices. So choose the template of your device that you want to provision. The downloaded templates are in text files. So this is a text file only with the P codes, and where each setting available on Grandstream device and its matching P code is presented. For example, in the screen shot displayed on the slide, you will see the P code 1650 matches the settings of the web access mode, and it's with the value 1. It means HTTP. So to make, so you need to convert the TXT file into an XML file, because this is the format the Grandstream device used to upload the config file. To make the XML conversion simple and easy, Grandstream has built a generator, an XML file generator tool that you can download from the Grandstream website and their support tools. So you have a user manual, just take a look, and you can convert easily the TXT file into an XML file, and the name must be C fgmacaddress.xml. So after generating the XML file, you can place it in the provisioning server root folder, and make sure the IP phone is also configured with the correct provisioning server IP address or path of the directory where the file has been placed or deployed. So this is GAPS, which is the Grandstream Automatic Provisioning System that you can use for provisioning and redirection services. This is how GAPS works. By default, all Grandstream devices comes out of box with the link fm.grandstream.com/gs, which is pointed to GAPS. So when the device is defaulted and is booting, or during the booting process, it will automatically contact GAPS, and GAPS will respond with whatever settings you have configured in your GAPS profile. For example, to redirect the device to your provisioning server, GAPS will reply to the device with the URL or IP address of your provisioning server so that the device can use it to request the config file. The provided URL or IP address will override the GAPS default URL of the device, and it will be saved for further provisioning requests. You can also use GAPS as your provisioning server to push a number of other settings to the device. By the way, GAPS uses HTTPS protocol, which add more security to your provisioning process. With that being said, GAPS provides plug-and-play service. ITSPs can directly ship devices to the customer premises without the need to unbox and pre-configure them. All what you have to do is add the MAC address to the GAPS profile, and it will be a perfect solution for a centralized management. If you like to use GAPS, please contact your direct redistributor. They're going to provide more information about it. This is the zero config used by the UCM. So the IP phone or Grandstream device will discover the UCM by sending a SIP subscribe broadcast message to the local network. So every device, including the UCM, will have the ability to receive this SIP subscribe message, and then the UCM will reply with SIP 202 accepted, and then send a SIP notify message to the device, including the config server path, which is pointed to the UCM's IP address. Furthermore, make sure the device is on the same local network as the UCM. So this is the zero config requirements. So you have to enable it on under the zero config settings when you access to the web GUI of the UCM. This one is enabled by default. Just make sure it is enabled. Sometimes some customers, they disable it for some reason and they just forget. So make sure this setting is enabled so the device will be provisioned. And the second requirement is the zero config works only with Grandstream devices, and make sure the device is within the local network as the UCM. And we will explore on the live demo how to provision a remote phone when you have multiple VLANs or multiple subnets. Okay, so this is the zero config discovery methods. So the UCM, if the device or Grandstream device is not populated here when you access to the zero config settings, so you can discover it manually. So just press on auto discover and use one of these three methods. So we have ping, ARP, or SIP info, and just enter the IP address to discover the IP phone you need to provision. Otherwise, you can enter 255, so you can discover the whole network. So this is the zero config hierarchy. So we have multiple templates from the global policy to the global template, to the module template, to the device. So more specific you are, more the higher in priority you get. So if you have the same settings with different values in the global policy and another one in the device policy, so the device policy will override whatever you have under or in the global policy. So more specific you are, more higher in priority you get. Pickup extension, it is used by the GXP21 series. So you have to access to the LCD screen, and the UCM allows the user to detect and select a UCM and get assigned with an extension automatically. So you have to access to the main menu under system configuration. You have UCM detect, click on it and press send, and this is where the phone will be auto provisioned and auto assigned a new extension. It should be within this range from the pickup extension. It should be from 4,000 to 4,999. This is by default, you can change it. So just make sure under the zero config settings that enable pickup extension is checked along with enable the zero config. Otherwise, it will not work. Here we have the auto assignment. So how the zero config works. So you need to access, so the phone will send this SIP subscribe. And then it will be populated within on the list. If not, you can auto discover it, and then manually you will send the SIP notify message to provision the phone. In this case, you can enable automatic configuration. For example, if you have a global template with some settings like VPKs, configured. So when you enable this, as soon as the UCM detects the phone, it means receives the SIP subscribe, and then the phone will send or requesting the config file. The UCM will automatically configure the the IP phone. You can enable these two features, enable automatic configuration and auto assignment. So it will be plug and play. So as soon as the phone is rebooted, if you have like a phone out of the box, it will be configured and have an extension without doing anything automatically. You don't have to go to the zero config and manually select the device and send the SIP notify. So if the enable automatic configuration is unchecked, in this case, it will not work, and you have to go and discover the IP phone and send manually the config file. So this is, we have like 4 methods for the firmware upgrade. So under upgrade and provisioning, when you access to the zero config, you can check the URL. You can give it like firmware.grandstream.com or any provisioning server that you have. You can use the local one, the local UCM server. You can upload the binary file, or you can use the local UCM media or the local SD card media. So these 4 ways how to upgrade or use the UCM to push the firmware to the IP phone. Okay, so we're going to go ahead with the live demo. Okay, so this is my UCM. Okay, so just to give you a brief information about the settings. So the local network on my UCM is 192.168.0.0/24. So when you go to the network settings, I have, or under information network here. So I have WAN LAN. So my WAN is a 22, and my LAN, this is my local subnet. So this is where I'm going to perform all the zero config configuration. And my remote phone, it will be on the 22 network. So to access to the zero config, you have to go to value added features, zero config, and here you have all the settings. You should you should have all the devices populated here. If not, you can do this. You can go to auto discover. For example, I have a phone which is 2140.108. This is my IP address. So I'm going to discover it. You can edit and add extensions, for example. Okay, so this is my phone. You can go to the advanced settings, and you're going to have a preview here. If you need to add p-values, for example, when you go to the basic settings or even the advanced settings, you're not going to have all the settings that you can push to the IP phone. So you have the main settings like the VPKs or soft keys or like some basic settings that you can do. So this is all what I have here. So here you can add like a new field. This is the p-value. So just take the p-value, for example, p1516. And here you can add the value. And that's it. And save and apply, and you can see it in the preview. Okay, I'm going to remove this one. So when you go to advanced settings, it must be here under the preview. So you have all the p-values or the settings that would be that could be sent to the phone. For example, my server path here for the firmware is firmware.grandstream.com. My NAT traversal is keep alive. My SIP account, and this is the password. Everything will be sent to the phone. Okay, so I need to access. So you can modify the global. So you can go to the global policy where you have, for example, the phone settings, that could be the same settings for all the phones, like the dial plan. For the auto answer by call info, this is a good feature if you need to perform intercom. So it must be yes here, because by default it's disabled for security purposes. So just go here and add auto answer by call info to yes. And then when you intercom to the phone will be auto answered. NAT traversal use random ports. Sometimes within the local network, it's difficult to have specific ports. For example, our phones will use 5060, 5062, and 5064, and etc. So you can use random ports to fix a lot of NAT issues. And there's a lot of other settings. I don't have the time to go one by one. Under maintenance, this is important. So you can here change the firmware source. So you can change from the URL to the UCM local. And here we have the root directory. You can access to it and upload the binary file. In my case, I have only two binary files, the GXP1628 and the HT800. I don't have a USB or SD card plugged, but in your case, if you have available USB media plugged to your UCM, you can use it. The config server path by default is this one. This is it shouldn't be. It should be the IP address of the UCM 192.168.22.179 if the phone is remotely provisioned. Otherwise, we need to use 192.168.0.1 because this is the LAN IP address. You can even change the web access. You can change the password. You can change the web access mode. By default, it's HTTPS, so HTTP, so you can toggle it to HTTPS. You can even change the port. And we have some security settings for Telnet and SSH, so you can disable it here. It is enabled by default. If you have some issues with the phone, we might request, if you open like a support ticket and you have some issues, we might request you to provide a syslog. So here you can add your syslog server, and then you can provide us with the syslog, and we will troubleshoot the issues that you have with your phone. And don't forget to use debug. It must be debug. So we can have all the syslog levels. Okay, for the network settings, so you can play with the tag for the VLAN. You can play with the QoS and change the value. If you have issues with NAT, you can push a stun server. Just make sure the stun server is working. Okay, so I'm going to say save. So this is my UCM, my phone. Okay, so there is a bunch of settings added, as you can see here. Everything I checked is added here. For example, we will be using HTTPS to have access to the phone. The server port is 443. This is by default. And then save and apply. And then just send here a notify message to the phone. I'm going to send 3 SIP notify just to make sure it is received by the phone. There is another setting here under the zero config settings. As I said, the zero config must be enabled by default. If not, just check here. For the enable automatic configuration, it must be checked here. For the auto assignment, the same way. If you need to change the range, so you need to access, I guess, under PBX settings, general settings, and here you're going to change the range. For example, the pickup range is from 4,000 to 4,999. You can reduce it to like just make sure the range doesn't conflict with another range. So you can't use, for example, here 2,000. It wouldn't allow you, I guess, when you say. No, it's working. So just make sure the UCM will auto detect by itself if there is any conflict. Okay, so for example, if I put like this, yeah, it's conflict with another range. So you can, yeah, it's conflicting with the auto provisioning extensions. So you need to change it. Okay, so this is it. So the range must be changed under PBX general settings. I'm not gonna save. Okay, so this is the zero config settings. Make sure everything is enabled, following your requirements. If you need to automatically configure the phone and give it like an extension, you have to check these two options, and then that's it. So the phone out of the box will be provisioned and auto assigned an extension. I have here a phone. It's 192.168.22.33. I'm gonna show you how to provision it. This is remote on another subnet. So my subnet is 192.168.0, just like this. So this phone could not be auto discovered, because when I do auto discover, everything is grayed out. I have only the last octet, so I can't auto discover it. So you have like two methods. Either you place this phone in the local network, configure it, and then take it back to the remote subnet or to the another subnet, or you're going to use this method. So you can create a new device and just enter the model, the MAC address, the IP, and the version, and that's it. So here I'm going to remove. I've already added this phone. It should be under here. Yeah, this one. So I'm just going to take. Okay, sorry for this. Okay, here. Okay, I'm gonna increase it a little bit. Okay. So this is zero config. All the way down. I have this phone is already added. I'm gonna remove it. And then I'm gonna create a new model. It should be the GXP 2130. This one, I'm just gonna copy paste the IP, and then the version should be 1.0.9.69. This is the firmware version. Yes, so 1.0.69. And then we can save. And then here we can add one account, for example, to 224. Save. Apply. It's going to take a few seconds. This is the UCM 6100. Okay, so as you can see here under maintenance, upgrade and provisioning, there is nothing in the config server path. So when the phone is rebooted, it will not be provisioned. It's on the remote subnet. It's not on the local one. So under the UCM, I need to make sure the 192.168.22 is whitelisted. So you can go to the zero config settings, and all the way down, you need to add the network. So I'm going to remove it and add it again. Okay, that's it. So when you add the whole network, so any phone within this network will be provisioned with the UCM. So I'm going to go back to the zero config. So this is my phone. All what I'm going to do here is just send a notify. And the phone will take the config server path of the UCM. So here I'm going to update. Yeah, the phone should be rebooting right now. Okay, so the phone will take, I think we have the HTTP server and the IP address will be changed. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to access again to the IP phone because I don't have the IP address. So under the maintenance, upgrade, and provisioning, the config server path will be changed to the IP address of the UCM and on the phone. And then on the reboot, the phone will be provisioned. Yeah, so here I can access it. Okay, so this is how you can do it. Just add here under the new create new device. You're going to create a new device. It will be populated in the list, and then just go and edit and send a SIP notify, and the phone will be provisioned. So this is the global policy. I've already explained some features on it. The global template, so you can add for each global template, you can add or for each IP phone model, you can add a global template. For example, here I have the GXP2140. It is not activated, so you can activate it here. Just check it. And from the list, you can add whatever you need. So here you can change the config server path. You can change everything, every settings here. The model template. So each each template has a model. So it should be default and activated. Otherwise, so for example, here, if it's only activated and it's not default, the settings that you're configuring here, it's not going to be pushed to the IP phone. Yeah, for the model update. So for example, we have GXV3300. This is the newest IP Android video phone. If you don't have, or if it's not in the list here, in my case, it should be here. Yeah, it's here. So if it's not here, what you can do, we have like a web link, ucm.grandstream.com, this link, we can provide it. So just go here and select the base version. And here you have the pack file. Just download it. So this is the pack file. So you can show it. And then upload it to the UCM. So you can go choose the file and upload it to the UCM. So I'm going to take it, for example. have this issue. It's not coming up. Okay, so when you have the pack file, you can upload it. So you have like an option where you can upload the pack file, and it should be listed within the all the pack files that you have under the zero config settings. So I'm not sure why I don't have access right now to my UCM. So I'm going to try again. Okay, I'm going to try to access through the link. Yeah, I have access right now. Okay, so here under the zero config, model update, this is where you can choose the file. For example, I have this one. Just choose it and upload it. It's going to take like 2 minutes, I guess. But it's already uploaded, so the file will be rejected. I have it right here, and then you can download it. It means it will be used by the UCM. Okay, it's going to take some time. Okay, so I'm going to sum up. So the Grandstream device will send the SIP subscribe to the UCM, and the UCM will send back like SIP 202 accepted, and then the UCM will send the config server path, and then after the IP phone is received or has received the config server path, it will request its config file. So the request must be HTTP or HTTPS protocol using the GET method, and the file requested, it could be cfg.xml or cfg MAC address.xml, and the phone will be provisioned on the boot. So here we have like plug and play. If you enable the auto assignment and the automatic configuration under the zero config settings, so here you can do plug and play. So these two options must be enabled. So just the phone out of the box, it will be provisioned automatically and assigned with a random or any extension from this range from 4,000 to 4,100. I reduced, it should be 4,999. And then the phone will accept calls, and you can dial out. For example, if you have, in my case here, I have this one. This one is not this one is, it doesn't have any model. So you can give it a model here. So after, like for the GXV 3300, I have uploaded already the pack file, so it should be available in this list. So this one. So for example, if this phone is the GXV 3370, this is how you can provision it. Just choose the model, and then you can apply the configurations from the accounts to the VPKs to some other features. And then save and apply. and then send the SIP notify. This is where you can send the SIP notify. Okay, so I'm done with the presentation. If you have any questions, submit them in the Q&A section.
Thank you. Yes, as we wait to get some more questions in, I do have one question here. Can zero configuration be used with third-party phones?
No, so the zero config is used only with the Grandstream devices. No third-party IP phones could be provisioned with UCM and the zero config settings.
Okay, and is Grandstream UCM modular?
What do you mean by modular?
I'm not sure. It's a question that was asked. Maybe we can have them elaborate on that till we ask another question. Can I assign more than one model template to one phone?
No, you have. You can create more than one module, but you can assign only one. Otherwise, it's going to be conflicting.
Got it. Let's see here. How can we get a GAPS account, GAPS account?
You mean GAPS, right? Yeah, so the customer needs to access to his direct redistributor. They manage GAPS. So we manage the software and they manage everything related to the management and the administration. So they are the one who contribute and give access to their customers' GAPS account.
Got it. Thank you. Here's another question. Can a configuration file of the telephone list be downloaded from the UCM, then changed and uploaded back?
Yeah. So you can. So every time you the phone is rebooted, it will request the config file. If there is any change on the UCM, it will be applied, of course.
Great. Thank you for that. Great question. I'm still waiting to get a reply back to the other question, but if we don't get to it, we can always get it answered separately. I don't see any more questions flowing through. I do thank you for your time and everyone else's time for this presentation. Again, this webinar is recorded, so that will be sent out to everybody either later on this afternoon or tomorrow. If there are any questions that do come upon after the presentation, please don't hesitate to reach out to Streetwave or Mehdi from Grandstream, and we'll be happily be able to answer those for you guys. Is there any final notes that you wanted to state to everybody today, Mehdi?
Yeah, if you have any other questions, you can send us an email, or the best way is just to submit a ticket through our helpdesk.grandstream.com. You can submit a technical support ticket and we will get back to you as soon as possible. So you can ask any question you like.
Great. Thank you again, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.